to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total Protonic Reversal.
Protonic Reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
Thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It means something. It means something. You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal!
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It is a scientific fact that we're all up in your face. It's time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Weekend edition. But this ain't no NPR, folks. Stoked for this episode. Doing it as a very special episode. I guess I used to call these quarantine episodes, but no one's quarantining anymore. And that's a whole separate conversation in and of itself. But we'll call it a special edition. It is a special edition. It's always a special edition of Protonic Reversal. But doubly so when you're talking to Mr. Gary Floyd. So going to be looking forward to talking to this, and I don't use the term lightly, legend, shortly. But before we do any of that, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer that has been touring and recording for 23 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life and use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 358. If this is your first time listening to the show, archives are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at ProtonicReversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/ProtonicReversal will achieve that goal. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around on the internet, and even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show, beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. So there you go. That's the spiel, as Watt says. Very excited to talk to this fella. Black Kali Ma, Sister Double Happiness, Gary Floyd band, and of course the incredible Dicks, one of the all-time great punk rock bands, with in my humble opinion, at least one of the all-time great punk rock songs. And of course, I do live in Milwaukee now, but I lived in Oakland most of my life, and a bit of a legend around the Bay Area scene. So excited, as far as I'm concerned, to talk to this guy, living legend, Gary Floyd. Gary, welcome to the show, man.
Boo. How are you?
Very good. It's so great to talk to you, man. Thanks for making the time.
Here I am, and there you are. So that's where you grew up, in Milwaukee?
No. I moved here in 2017, so I'm from California. I'm actually from, I call it the Kansas of California, which is the Central Valley. But I moved...
You throw those titles around pretty easy.
Yeah. And then I moved to Oakland at 17, and I lived there most of my life. So I first knew you from Sister Double Happiness, Black Kali Ma, et cetera, and I had to go back to the Dicks afterwards, which I did afterwards.
That was, I think a lot of people from here, they only knew the Sister and Kali phase. It was always sort of cute when they would go, "Have you ever been in any other band?"
Oh, you ever did anything before this?
And I go, "No." I was in the gospel choir.
Oh, yeah.
And, no. Also, when I used to be in Europe, people would come up and go. They were always sort of sad because they thought I would be a complete lunatic.
Right.
They would go, "Are you the Gary Floyd that the Butthole Surfers wrote a song about. Sometimes I just go, no, it wasn't me.
Yeah, it's a different
Because
dude.
they didn't want to ruin their world. They wanted me to be scratching in the corner or something.
Yeah, they want you to be
But-
like Iggy Pop,
Yeah,
like at his most whacked out, right? This is what they were
Yeah,
looking for.
can you please break a glass and cut me with it? But I never went that route. So
Well, and it's interesting too because these days, with everything being information being so easily available,
yes,
it's more easy for that stuff to propagate. But back then, the idea of like, okay, someone that's in this one state and has done all these things in that state, now he's in a different state. You may as well be in a different, like on the moon,
it's
to a
very
certain
true.
degree.
It's very, very true.
And was
That's
that
the way the world is?
Yeah, I mean, when was that like a? I can imagine there being sort of like a good side to that and a bad side as well. And the fact that if you're going to a new place, you get to sort of kind of redefine who you are to a certain degree.
You can. I just remember back in the day touring, like in sort of a regular old small van and everything in there.
Mhm.
And if you lost any contact numbers, you were just out there. You didn't know what to do. It was really, there wasn't any looking up a website. None of that existed.
Right,
But,
like
you know,
there you'd be like, stop someone and ask, hey, do you know where such and such is?
well, you'd ride. There have been times that you'd ride around, and if you'd see somebody with a mohawk or obviously punk, but you'd pull over and hope that they knew what was going on, and most of the time they did.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of, that was sort of cool. But this is good too. I don't mind looking at a website, see what's going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's used for nonsense, but there's some
A
useful
lot
stuff
of
on it.
nonsense, a lot of bullshit, but it's, it's like the old argument about people liking or hating PBS or TV that was like those channels. It was always something good and always a whole bunch of real dull, out there, mind-numbing, don't want to watch it stuff.
Yeah.
But there was good stuff too.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the way it goes. It's just more of everything, right? So since there's more of everything,
That's it. It'll explode. And at some point, everybody knows everything. It's over.
yeah, exactly. And then we'll
Let
just
it
reach
be.
a singularity of quantum consciousness, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Very true.
That's a strange little alley to go down. But talk to me about.
Well, you can always pull me back in because I'll go on it.
No,
Give me
that's
everything I see.
look. I'm big into quantum physics, so like I could talk that all day.
That's something that my head spins around. I don't know.
I'm very curious as someone that. First of all, I don't know that much about how the dicks actually came together, and I'd like to know about that. It was like 1980 or so, to my recollection, right?
Yeah, I was living in San Francisco I was living in Austin when I first started getting into punk rock. And I saw the Ramones there, and
Nice.
I thought, well, this is what I'm going to do now. I like this better than what I've been doing for a while. But I ended up moving out here to the West Coast, and I saw the Pistols' last show. So,
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah, it went.
Ever got the
really-
feeling you've been cheated? That one.
Yeah, it was like no shit. It was and there was a whole bunch of obviously punk rock and at that time the new wave shit. Oh, it was a big gathering. I mean, it was at a huge place, and so by the time I moved back to Austin, I was very into it. I hooked up with some friends there, and then the club opened, Raoul's, which I didn't go to at first, but I thought, I want a band. I don't want to just not have a band. I want a band.
Yeah.
I'd had bands in high school and stuff, mostly like sort of blues stuff, but I really wanted to have a band. So I think I went to the club one night, and then after that, I realized I totally wanted to go. But I thought, I can do this. Even if it's bad, I can still do it. So I can do it. So I thought it's not really fair, because I don't have a band, to not at least say I'm in one. So me and my
Sure.
best friend, and I heard that people are doing this again. I'm not sure, but in 1979, I don't know how many people were doing it. We started making posters, fake posters. And
Before a band actually existed, you made the posters.
Yeah, we were sort of a poster band.
Can I tell you that I did that when I was 17 too, before I actually had a real band.
I think it's a wonderful thing, and to keep people guessing.
Yeah.
And you can also tell if other people are lying too, because they'll say, "Oh yeah, I saw you."
Oh yeah, it's a great show.
No, you didn't.
The hell you did.
But it was 1313 Parkway, the new Mars Club,
Right.
and that didn't exist. None of that existed. And we'd put real provocative things, like be there. The show starts at midnight. And the first 5 people with a gun get free drinks all night. So it'd be like
fantastic. Yeah.
Always. Yeah, and nasty stuff. A lot of real nasty queer stuff, and people would be freaked out. But then I went to Rose one night, and I saw what turned out to be Glenn and Buff, the guitar player and the bass guy. And they were up from San Antonio, which is where they lived. But they'd come out, they wanted to move up there. So I was very drunk, and they both looked very mean and crazy. And they looked more like escaped prisoners than band people. They really looked mean. Nobody was saying anything to them.
Yeah.
So I went right up, only because I was drunk, and said, "I'm trying to start a band. Do you guys want to be in it?" And they went, "Well, what do you need?" And I went, "Everything. Everything. There's no band. I want to start it.
Yeah.
But the name's got to be the Dicks."
Right.
And they laughed, and they went for it.
Yeah.
And we eventually, within a year, did our first show. So, and we got Pat, the drummer. I never really knew exactly where he came from, but I know he had a shag and wore flip-flops. So we tried to give him a bunch of shit until he stopped doing all that. And
peer pressure.
he had very high standards. And we did our first show, and then we sort of caught what was going on. And within a couple of months, we recorded Hate the Police. And then we just started, we started touring. Later, I moved out here. We had lived in Austin for a long time, and we went on tour, and we came out here and played. And I wanted to move out here. I thought, not just because I loved it, and because the weather was cool when it was not cool every place else. And I just thought it'd be better for the band. We were a bit spoiled in Austin, and we had become very lax, and we weren't even practicing that much. But out here, we realized that, so we did move out here. But then we went on the Rock Against Reagan tour.
That's right,
yeah. 3-month with the crucifix.
Doc Dart, man, that guy. Like,
Doc Dart.
Have you kept up with that guy at all? He kind of he went down.
What?
I was gonna say he went down a very interesting path. That's what I was gonna say.
I've heard his path has been very. He was beginning that path then.
Yeah. I mean, hell of a front man. Don't get me wrong, hell of a lyricist, but
he's incredible. And we toured with him, and we sort of hung out with him. We gravitated and became friends with him. And But yeah, he's a very creative, sort of flipped out, great guy. I haven't really talked to him in about 20 years, but I keep sort of up with him. And I remember on that tour, we've stayed at his house a couple of nights. And so he said, "Here, I got to run an errand. You want to go with me?" And I went, "Yeah." So we hopped in the car and we passed a cop. And he said, "I didn't know any of this." And he said, "Yeah, we have to be careful. I've got a warrant. And the cops know me." And I was like,
Oh man.
wow, okay. So, okay. And they canceled the show and we ended up playing in a basement of somebody's house. It's complete chaos.
Right.
It was fun, though.
So
Then
you're
when we finished the tour. We went back to Austin. They wanted to stay, but I wanted to come back out here, so I did. And I reformed the band with Lynn, Sebastian, and Tim.
and that's the second lineup, right?
Yeah, that's why I did that.
So, and you just, Bay Area, obviously. I mean, I didn't move from the Bay Area because I hated the Bay Area. I just couldn't afford it anymore. It's an incredible place to live, still is, even though it's different now.
It's very hard. I've had to move like there's twice I've had to move. I sold the house and I had lived there 23 years. And it was a big place. It was a big flat. Really cool, but it needed an incredible amount of work.
Right.
And they ended up selling the house for something like $1 million. And if you said to somebody, "You remember that house I used to live in?" They sold it for $1 million. They'd bust out laughing. But it's gotten so expensive here. And then the next house that I was in there like 10 years, and they sold it, and the guy wanted us out. So we were really lucky to find the place that we have. And it's very disheartening because that's had a big effect on the city. The super rich, which most of them, they really aren't even super rich, but they're like, they've got enough money to $3,000 a month for like a one bedroom place. And I found that sort of a repulsive thing. And then the whole poor thing is completely out of control. The homeless situation, it's really out of control.
It's just hollowed out. There's just people that have, quote unquote, have it all, and people that have nothing, and there's like nothing in between.
And that's sort of the way it works.
Yeah.
The more people that have their big nest, the more people have nothing.
Yeah.
And now it's like a second or third generation of the homeless. So now instead of being sort of sad when you see the people, they've got scams going, and you lose sympathy, and you just don't want to see them. And it's a sad scene. Yeah.
It's depressing, yeah, and it's not.
It is depressing. So anyway, there's a lot of depressing things. Should we talk about all of them?
yeah, let's outline them.
New war.
Yeah, great, yeah, that's what we really needed.
No, it's
well, but I think that it's notable to me that like how early did Hate the Police come into the Dick's pantheon? Because that was the first single, right? So was that like that had to be like one of the first songs?
Yes, it was in. I think the first set we ever did, we didn't do it, but I think it was there about the second or third time we played, and we were playing fairly often. Glenn came in with the music and some of the words, and then I wrote some of the words, and that's the way we did it back then. We got together, and any ideas we'd patch together, throw words, move on, because there's another set coming.
Right.
And
Sure.
So that's how. And during this time, there was a lot of press about the cops, mostly in Houston, but also everywhere. Beating the hell out of people, throwing people in the bayou. That was one of the big ones that happened in Houston. some Mexican guy they picked up. They ended up sort of beating him up and then throwing him in one of the bayous. And of course he drowned. And all of these things were coming out. And so that's how that came about, from the happenings of the day. Thank God that's all over with.
Yeah, we sorted that out, didn't we?
We fixed that one.
Yeah, it kind of...
No, but that's how the song came about.
And it does kind of... It's pretty depressing, too, that it's as prescient now as then, and as accurate now.
No, it's... you know, you could write songs about, you know, bluebirds and butterflies, and that's great because they are there. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
But you want people to recognize happiness.
Yes.
Within themselves. Sometimes you might want to, if they get too keyed up and smiling, you might want to just stop them and go, there's another side of things.
Yeah, bring them down a
It's not
little.
to get too bogged down in either one of them. Don't be so happy you're blind or so sad you're vomiting tears every day. But, you know, you have to look at the whole thing and make it real for yourself and for everybody else.
Absolutely, and there's a balance in all things, right? But it does strike me that, I mean, Hate the Police is just, for me, that's always in the conversation of like best debut single, as far as not necessarily being the best song. I mean, I do think it's a great song, but like just like as far as just a statement of intent, like holy moly, like and also I'm one of the people, and I guess it's chalk up to my age. I heard the Mudhoney version first. And
Many
then
people did. Why did we decide to do a cover of Mudhoney?
Which and I was like, this song's amazing. Like, how do I not know this? And then I was like, oh, it's a cover of the Dicks. I'm like, oh, it's a cover of Sister Double Happiness. So I was one of those guys.
It was a different band. We kept a rough edge.
Yeah,
but we certainly were free. We felt free to do other kind of a love song or something. Yeah. And but yeah, I was lucky enough a couple of times to sing it on stage with those guys, and the first time we ever went to Europe, it was our first show, and we were staying, I think, in Amsterdam, but we had to drive someplace. I don't know where the fuck it was, but it was an all-day festival.
Mm-hmm.
Started early. It was in a big hall, and Mudhoney was playing. I didn't. I was really jet lagged. I had never flown that far before. So,
it's a long flight. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a long flight. Plus, it was a long flight. We landed in London. Then we had to fly to Amsterdam. It's like I was all buzzed out. So they came to the backstage area where we were. And I don't know, they thought I was a prick, but God knows I wasn't. And they said, hey, we're going to do Hate the Police. Will you join us? And the band was like, oh, how wonderful for Gary. He's going to be able to join. But I was really tired. And I went, no, I don't think so. But I'm really tired, so no. But thank you. And I went, okay. So later on, I hear that they said in an interview that they had met me and asked me to sing, and I said no, and I was a big asshole and all that kind of stuff. Right. So later, when they played here in the city, they came to the dressing room and said, hey, do you want to sing Dicks Hate the Police? And I went, no, I don't think so. But I did. So they laughed. We all laughed. And all the ugly feelings had left. And plus, I love those guys.
Oh, they're great.
And,
yeah.
So, yeah, I think a lot of people think that we did a cover of their song.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Just let it be. That's I'm glad they did it.
Well, and it's kind of one of those songs that people will know, but they won't necessarily know even who did it. Like in that grand tradition of sort of like the egoless punk rock communitarian effort, right? Where it's like, it's just in the Of course, hate the police. Yes, that's you know.
Yeah, and they'll sing it and be happy about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all. That's all good. It's a big collector's item because the first time it was printed back in '80, we only printed 500,
Oh man.
and
Yeah.
we each got a box. I don't know how many's in a box, 50, I think, or something. But I gave them away. I didn't think anything about it. One day I went to give them away, and I didn't have any.
Right.
So I only had one for a long time that I gave to my mother. And what a gift. I'm sure she was so happy to get that. And I'm sure that just touched her heart. This is my son.
Oh yeah.
And
You don't like the police that much.
no shit. He's a good little punk commie. You'll just love his singing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but, so I saw, literally, somebody sent me the other day, a collector in Italy or something. It's paying $3,000. So it's on the,
Wow.
it's like in the top 20 list of highest priced punk rock singles.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. There's times it would have been nice to have had a couple of extra ones.
Yeah, yeah. pay your rent. Exactly.
You want to buy an old punk rock single?
Well, the
Well,
answer
that's
now,
nice.
now people are all connected with each other too, so it's easier for folks to,
Well, that's one of the things, because I heard somebody else a long time ago that had some big high price for that single, but it doesn't necessarily mean they were a fan. They're just
speculating.
They don't know anything about it. They're just trading,
Right.
selling. It's like a business. But it was interesting to hear all that.
I used to, years and years back when I was a kid, I used to collect comics, but I collected comics because I was a fan of comics.
Yes.
And of course, there are people that they didn't read them, they didn't care about them, they were just buying them to speculate. And
I think a lot of the people are like that with the single.
Yeah, and I've never been. I do like records, but I'm not a record collector that way. Like I do have a few records that are important to me.
I have a friend that does.
Yeah.
He gets up bright and early on the weekends and goes to all these estate sales. Once I went with him to an estate sale because they had albums, and he knew all these people.
Yeah.
They're all out trying to compete each other, and it's
like a like Ghost World, like Steve Buscemi's character in Ghost World with the jazz records.
It's really odd because I like albums. I don't care like that.
Yeah, I never. It's not my thing, but I always appreciate what people get out of it. Like, I appreciate that people you really enjoy like the art of going to this estate sale and digging through the crates and finding oh my God, this is the 3rd edition. Okay.
Yeah, I know. He's a reviewer too, and he knows all these things. Before I'm able to say, I don't care, he'll be able to tell me so many facts.
Yeah.
About these weird records, and if it's in stereo or mono, big deal to him, not me.
Yeah.
And the faults of CDs, how bad they are. I don't care. CD, I don't care. I'd listen to a tin can that said anything.
Exactly, if the song's good. But there is a world where people get it's like their favorite thing. They get a lot out of it. And so then, to have something to be that rare, but also at the same time iconic within a world. Like, I mean, if you outside the world of punk rock, people may not give much of a care about it.
They couldn't care less.
Right. But amongst punk rockers,
I tried to cover them all with the different kind of bands I've been in. I was in a punk band. When I tell especially younger people that now, they don't believe me. They've never heard of the Dicks for sure. Most of them never even heard of punk rock.
Yeah.
And they couldn't care less.
Well, because we live in a time that like Led Zeppelin and Big Boys are on the same level, right? Where it's like you have the same ability to listen to both.
I've never really thought about that, but I think that's exactly right. That's it. To me, that's true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both right up there. If you're playing DJ at home,
sure,
you can play, fun right after Stairway to Heaven. You can play them all together.
It makes
and
sense to me,
then throw in a
man.
little Joni Mitchell to calm you down again.
Exactly. Take it down a notch.
Take it down a couple of notches.
Well, speaking of big boys, that the Live at Raoul's Club record, that's another early wonder. How did you first meet up with them? Was it playing shows? Did you know about them from beforehand?
No, I had known Biscuit for quite a while. After I moved to Austin, which was in '74, about '75, I would see him walking down the drag. And even though he had really long hair and a mustache, he stood out. Because he'd wear real spangly suit coat.
Yep.
And a tie and like a kilt or something. I mean, he always really stood out. So in my own bizarre way, I might have stood out too. So we started saying, hey, how you doing? We got to know each other. And at some point, I'd go to his house and buy things, buy all kinds of stuff. And
fair. Say less. Yeah, I got it.
And so we started regularly speaking. But then, after that, I did move out here to SF, and I was here a little while, and then I moved back there. So we hadn't seen each other again, and punk rock had started. I had seen the Sex Pistols and the Avengers and the Nuns who played them.
The Nuns, yeah.
And so I went to Rolls one night, and there he was. And I went, oh my God, you're here. Time has led us both here to the same thing. Yeah. And he went, yeah, he started a band. He told me about the big boys. I don't know if they had played yet, maybe just a party or something. And I was saying, well, the posters for the Dicks, that's me. He went, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And so not too long after that, we did get the Dicks together. And we would see him at Raoul's all the time. And we met the other guys and the big boys. Chris and Tim and a litany of drummers. And
right, yeah.
So the owner of the club, there had been a Raoul's, Live at Raoul's come out. The club was owned by different folks, which I was also very good friends with. Joseph and Raoul, who were the owners, and these big, incredible Mexican fellas that they wanted to open a Tijuana music club at Raoul's. And that's when one of the people in some of those early punk bands went by and said, how about one night a week? Give it to us. And they said, they gave them a chance. And before it was over with, very shortly it became nothing but punk rock. Right. 7 nights a week. But the new guy came up and said, I want to put out another Rolls, Live at Rolls. But instead of having a lot of bands, I just want two, you and the big boys.
Got it.
So,
yeah.
Of course, we were very excited. And we did it, and it was over a Friday and a Saturday night. And it was all such a big deal. They had a remote recording studio out in the back and in a van, and they were doing all this stuff. And it was very great time. So when that came out, we were sort of bonded forever. And Biscuit and I remained really good friends until the day he died. When I went back to Austin, I usually stay with him.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes my friend Buck and his wife. But it pretty much bonded us, and we had a bit of positive competitive, but it was always loving. It was never like, oh my God, you're doing something, and now I've got to do something. It was like, because we were different enough.
Right. You weren't doing the same thing necessarily.
Like a clown with the blood on his britches. And right. I was just the britches. I mean, we were different enough that we loved each other, and we supported each other.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a totally different approach too. I mean, he's wearing like a tutu and cowboy boots and stuff, and going.
Yeah, well, you know what? They were really nice, and we weren't. That's how I was able to get away with dressing in drag and talking about Stalin and all that stuff, because I had 2 or 3 really mean ass guys behind me.
Right behind you.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
I'm not a tough guy. Obviously, I'm a big queen, but they were like, Buff and Glenn were always ready to promote diversity.
Staunch characters, yeah, that are.
They were very wonderful characters, and Buff still is. He still plays a lot in his own band. So we still support each other and are very good friends.
Well, and it's interesting too with Big Boys is that they like when they re-released the discography Touch and Go, and they well, first of all, the Skinny Elvis and the Fat Elvis is incredible. I guess just as
Anything
a naming
better
convention,
than that?
that's like
it's pretty incredible. Yeah,
but it gives you an idea of the evolution of the band, which it starts off being more, I guess, what people call traditionally punk, but then they start, they get funky and like kind of more experimental, and
that's what you hope happens to every band. I mean, if there's a certain purity of punk rock that I don't have any loyalty to.
Right.
I have loyalty to whatever emotion strikes that will push a song out. And if it happens to be some schmaltzy thing by Brad, if it's real, let it be. I don't have to listen to it.
Right.
But, I know when the Dicks started doing punk rock, even back with the original Dicks, that had more of a bluesy sound. And I say bluesy, like songs like "Dead" in a motel room and stuff like that.
Right. It doesn't sound like a blues man with an acoustic guitar, but it's got
it's not like John Lee Hooker up there doing. But it still had some kind. People would go, "Be careful, man! Don't sell out."
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can. I guess we can cuss on here, but
you can cuss if you like.
How about fuck you? I'll do whatever I want to.
There you go. Yeah.
If I worked in a gas station, I would be forced to do the same thing to get the job done.
Yeah.
But here, I don't have to do that. I can sing whatever, and I really did that with Sister. But the one thing I can always be happy, they all came from the same spot, which was, this is how I'm feeling. It's not about how you're feeling. Maybe if it is, we can talk about it. It'll be great. But if it's not, just don't listen to it. I don't give a shit.
Right, because what you're doing is you're putting it out there, and if people connect with it, hey, that's great. But it's not
that's exactly
your first
right.
goal.
I think by the time Sister came along, a lot of people were sort of musically expanding.
Yeah.
And they felt like they could do whatever they wanted to rather than the formulated punk rock style, which I always love. I always love it. It's odd now when I see people doing that, but I listen to it. So,
yeah, it can still be done. It can still be done well and interesting. It's not
exactly.
It's not all Civil War reenactment.
I've known some punks into that.
No, for sure.
That's a different story.
But sometimes you hear some bands and it's just like, oh, you're putting on the costume and doing the thing, aren't you? Okay.
Well, I've often wondered when I've seen some of the folks, like, what are you guys doing? Are you going to a costume party? Like a period party?
Yeah.
It's not really like a criticism, but some of it you can see has absolutely no advanced thinking, but that's what people do. And a lot of those people love what the Dicks were. Now, the way I look and that I'm old to say, oh, they're not interested in that history. Some are, some aren't. And I really, if I seem to care, not really. There's a nostalgia that sometimes makes you think, but people do what they do. I used to be a lot more judgmental about the whole thing, but if they want to play in a little club and wear suspenders hanging around their knees, that's okay. I don't care. Good, good.
Sure.
And
Doesn't hurt anything, right? You know, they're
it
having a
doesn't
good
hurt
time.
anything. They could be doing worse, throwing needles at ex-addicts.
Yeah.
Anything. And but I was able to, with Sister, get a lot of things out of my, a lot of things that I wanted to do, that I felt that I needed to get out. But I always did it honestly. I didn't ever do any of that because if I had wanted to sell out and really do the whole bit, I could have done that with Warner Brothers and
Sure.
stayed on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But instead, I chose to let them drop us.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to change things. And so, I could sit here fat and sassy and feel good about the whole thing.
Well, because you did it, to the beat of your own drummer to a certain degree. Or drummer.
It's even more. I did it my way.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I don't have a lot to show for it, but I'm happy. So.
And in this, and again, to be clear, this show is definitely for the kind of people that do care about those kinds of insights and discussions and do want to hear about those perspectives. And something that I think there are both more mainstream examples, but not in the way that there were before. Just being an out dude in punk rock was a pretty big deal.
It was. And I'm going to have to tell you, Austin was a pretty good place.
Yeah.
Because I never got, as far as I remember, I never got any shit at all from the community, the punk rock community. And at that time, sort of things that was a little more poppy, new wave-ish, and the hardcore punk rock were much more together. They didn't really, it wasn't
cross-pollinated how it is now.
Separating it all. But I never got any shit from that. But a lot of those people were film students.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them were. And I think, I don't know, their minds seemed to be open about that. So the whole gay thing back then, plus you had several bands in Austin that were pretty well recognized that had open gay people in the band. And I think when everybody, the whole world didn't fall apart because there were a few queers making music, as opposed to 100 million that are in the entire music scene. And I think everybody, got their panties all straightened out and felt it was all right. Nobody cared. I got a little weird when we would travel because I was so out. And, we played in Detroit once, and I think some people were planning to beat me up or something. I don't know. But they didn't, because Buff and Pat and Glenn they didn't know what they were.
Right.
Ex-cons. And
hard men is what they were. Yeah.
We're going to beat you. Oh, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And,
just saying, hey.
But I'm lucky that none of that ever, like I did never get attacked or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I was able to keep my head up and not try to hide or anything. And but I always say, if you're all uptight about who somebody's fucking or something, you're not here for the right reason. This is where, it's all right with me as long as you don't put your hand on me. You know what? I'd rather put it in a big sack of shit.
Yeah, don't flatter yourself, son.
Yeah, don't flatter yourself, Miss Thing. No, I don't want to hear it. But all of that was, and I do look back, and I don't know exactly where exactly I got a lot of the courage to do that. I don't know if I would now. But back then it was like, I don't know. I don't want to keep cussing. It sounds so tacky, but welcome. If I want to dress up and talk about Chairman Mao, I'll do whatever I want to. And I would rather have done that than anything. Because now I'm sort of boring.
Well, far from it, I'd say. But you, again, in aggressive music, and I don't even want to say necessarily punk rock or hardcore, but like stuff, like aggressive music, there aren't enough examples of folks from around that time specifically that are doing it that had that attitude. And so therefore it's all the more important to hear the stories of people that were there personally. And I say that as someone.
That's a good thing to hear, and I think that's probably right. My own attitude about all that kind of stuff is just mine.
Yeah.
And I don't mind hearing other people's ideas about things. Like, Biscuit and I came from a very different sort of way of dealing with that.
Yeah.
He certainly wasn't a closeted guy. But he was not at all. But
pretty outgoing dude, yeah.
Yeah, he was so incredible. I mean, the more you knew him, the more you miss him, I think. He was and just kind. He was a kind-hearted guy. And, we came from a very different spot of how we dealt with all that. Yeah. But it led us, I mean, we never argued about anything. We always just had the same. And when I would see him do what he did, I respected him so much. And one of the last things he ever said to me, he was really proud that we were doing these reunions, and he had liked Sister. He had gone with Sister Double Happiness from Austin on a little tour one time just to hang out.
Yeah, yeah.
And, so different ways of dealing with our lives should twine us rather than alienate and piss people off. Although there's plenty of people to be pissed off at. But
they didn't stop making them, as it turns out.
They didn't stop. They are still winding them out.
Yep.
It's very, very true. So what was the name of that band you were in? It was like what's the name of your show?
Oh, Protonic Reversal is the name of the show.
And the band?
Oh, I'm in a band called Conan, Neutron, and the Secret Friends.
You're still playing?
We literally just played Bottom of the Hill a few weeks ago with
kidding.
Cassette Prophet. Yeah, no, not at all.
Well,
with that's Mike Moraski from Steel Pole Bathtub. His new deal.
That's a name you don't hear much anymore, but they were certainly popular.
And Noah was in Neurosis and Christ on Parade. Christ on Parade is he was also.
Oh, it's a star-studded band.
Yeah, and it was. They have not recorded anything. They'll be like 5 or 6 shows, but it was. I specifically wanted them to play because I was very excited.
And what are you playing? Guitar? Or
I do guitar and vocals. I'm the front man. Yeah, so
Oh, you know what's happening.
It's a big rock thing. I kind of had to chuckle myself when you're describing like a Biscuit running around in spangled coats, because that's kind of my deal. I got a sort of a Glenn Campbell Prince sort of presentation to this aggressive rock music.
Wow, you said all the key words here. Red flag to fandom. Huge Glenn fan. And my barber many years, I was always I wanted really perfect short hair. And every time he was he was a great hair guy, he would forget telling me these things. He went, well, my daughter dates a guy in a band called Steel Pole Bathtub, and he'd always bust out laughing. He'd go, that name. And I thought, guess what my old band used to be?
I don't wait to hear.
But I never told him. He actually came and saw his sister one time in Berkeley, but he got a little tipsy. Mm-hmm. Me and my barber.
The barber did. Okay, all right, yeah.
Well, so did I. He was a great guy. Anyway, there was that sounds like a great band. That's a good thing. Yeah, okay.
I want to. We talked a lot, and we'll talk about Sister too. I want to talk about Sister, but I realize all the dick stuff we talk about, it's mostly the Austin stuff. I do want to talk about the SF era. Rich Daddy. That's another one that's aged unfortunately well.
It's yeah, that's a good one.
It's like still a little too relevant, frankly, if you ask me, in the age of Instagram influencers and whatnot. It's like, okay.
They use that. There was some show about early PC stuff
Uh-huh.
set in Austin. The name of it was a real a big show. I don't know what it was. A regular TV thing. And the name of the show was some slogan that was used for it. But it was about the younger people that were starting in the computer business, and it was set in Austin, I think. And they used Rich Daddy 10 seconds in a background thing, which is pretty sweet.
What was that? I heard of. I don't think I saw. It's like Halton something. Halton Catch Fire. Was that it? Was it
Yes,
Halton Catch Fire?
That's it. I never ever know the name, but yes, yeah, they used Rich Daddy in that, which was amazing. I always loved doing that song. I thought it was really good. But when we went on that Rock Against Reagan tour, the original band, now known as the Dicks, the San Francisco band is known as SF Dicks, and to clear up any kind of thing. But so when the other guys in Austin did not want to come back, I sort of understood, but I really did not want to stop the band. Yeah. I wanted to still, if I had it to do over again, I'd probably change the name and still do the same kind of thing I was doing. But that's not how it turned out. So, and I told them, I said, well, if you don't come back, I'm going to go back and start the band again. I'm going to keep the band going.
Yeah.
And they sort of understood. They also sort of wanted to probably beat me to death, but they, but they didn't.
Right. To their credit, they did not do that. Yes.
To their credit, I think they planned to once or twice, but I told them to please come backstage, and I gave them all a beer, and I think people calmed down, and they're like brothers. So I don't hold myself in any kind of, I feel bad about it. I do wish maybe I'd change the name a little.
Yeah.
But I didn't. So I came back here, and immediately the guys in the MDC, especially Dave, we all practiced in this big old, it was an ex-Hams beer brewery, known as
Nice.
the VAT. And many punk rock bands practiced in these, what had once been beer vats.
Yeah.
They were big. And they had redone them, and not too much. But so MDC had lined a bunch of people up, mainly Dave, to audition to be the new Dicks. And a lot of people came there. I had met Lynn Perko prior to leaving on this last tour, because I had moved out here. There was a couple of 3 months, and my best friend and roommate at the time had met Lynn and her housemate Helen, who had been in the Rex. And
right. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of shit. I thought Lynn was really, really good. She was really high, but she was really a good drummer.
Yeah.
And so all these guys lined up. But after I heard everybody, I asked her to join. And Tim Carroll was a great guitar player. He had a really good style. I love the way he played. He was a little bit dorky, but he also was a really good guitar player.
Yeah.
And Sebastian, German, really handsome, uptight, sort of, but great guy.
Yeah.
That's the formula that I wanted. And I didn't want to try to repeat Buff and Glenn being the mean guys that took care of me.
Right. Yeah.
And the new people certainly weren't like that, although they would if they could. But Lynn would hit him with a curling iron or something. It was
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. I like the new energy, and before too long, we had them. We were playing, and we never really missed a beat. We toured a couple of times, and we put out These People and the 45 No Fucking More.
Yep.
And I hope you get drafted. And but after a couple of years, the scene was changing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The fascists were sort of really prevalent in the skinhead thing, and
Yeah.
I knew a lot of those people before they were even skinheads, and it was sort of sad to watch that happening. And they were very violent at shows, and separate, where women couldn't be. And this is such a problem, a first world problem. Women couldn't get in the pit, and it was the whole thing had a big air of violence that had changed. And there was a very ideological, that's when it was really, you need to be hardcore punk. People would yell faster to us. And I just got, no, I'm not playing anything different than I want to play it.
Yeah. Like there was a rule book suddenly, and whereas before, like the idea of there being a rule book would.
Yeah, the rule book
offensive.
earlier had been more do whatever you want to. This one was now things are you need to do it this way because things are changing. And
Yeah.
I was getting the thing of like the mad, sort of inner mad that I was able to express really good with the punk rock things was being replaced with, if I'm mad forever, I'm going to be a horrible person. And,
No, that's very real though. Yes. Talking about, just not wanting to be super angry for all time, forever, to being defined by it.
Well, I have a bit of clearance, just that if you're also to stifle the feelings that make you want to write a song,
Right.
aren't always, you're all pissed off. Or if you are upset or something about it, you don't always want to express it in the exact same way. So I felt like a lot of people had moved, hardcore people, had moved a bit. I don't even want to use the word advancing because it makes it seem like you're trying to be better than others, but I'm not all that PC, so fuck it. But had advanced enough that they were able to express themselves in many different ways. And if it was with us, piano and vocals, fine.
You get another tool in the toolbox, so to speak, almost, right? Yeah.
You had a big toolbox and you were able to freely use them. And so we were able to do that. I think the first album that Sister put out was an example, We were doing different kind of songs. We were coming from still the sort of a punk expression way of doing it. And I think a lot of people liked it. And then the Warner Brothers album, I think it was some really good songs. It wasn't done. The mixing wasn't like we wanted it as much as it could have been, but that was a real learning experience. I still like the songs, and but there's a lot of learning expenses, like experiences, and
right.
We chose to leave rather than cooperate with propagating that sound. We wanted to be a little more raw. We put out Uncut, and it was sad in a way because it wasn't distributed all that well. A Dutch East India, which I never understood their whole anything about them. And
right.
By this time, we had gone to Europe about 4 times or something. And so we had a nice audience over there. So by the time it came that we wanted to put out Horsey Water, which was the last album we did, sort of, We were very free. And, you know, that was one of the favorite albums that I've done. I really loved the way it worked. And then I started doing the Gary Floyd band stuff. So I did 5 solo CDs. And then, you know, Black Collie Moth. So I was doing all the Gary Floyd band stuff. And Danny and I, who rest his soul, has gone away. But we said to each other, you know, we've been doing this a long time, and we really wanted to get away from all the really hard music and do so we did the Gray Floyd band. And we sort of said to each other, and you know, I'm sick of that now. Let's do something hard again.
Sure.
They called my buddy Matt, who lived in Milwaukee, I think, at that time.
Oh, no kidding.
Someplace cold. Yeah, he had been from here. He had been in a band called the Smoking Rhythm Prawns. And asked him if he wanted to come join us. So he literally moved back. And we did the Black Collie Moth thing, which I love that album. I was very proud of that record. I'm not so sure AT knew what to do with it.
It's a little,
And,
yeah, it's a little kind of an outlier almost, right? So
it was a different road, and I've never been really sad if records don't sell a lot, because I never expected them to. But I was a little sad that more people didn't hear it. But I don't think, as I said again, AT really knew what the hell to do with it. And whatever. And then I did the Buddha Brothers, which I had a couple of releases with them. One never really even got released. We just recorded it. And maybe it will sometime, but I'm old.
Never know.
If it doesn't, am I going to care? I'll be in the funeral pyre. So, that's, I mean, how much? But, you know, I paint a lot. I've done some shows, and I've really benefited from them, and I really enjoyed them. I think a lot of people were just Dick's fans that bought them, because I'm not some great artist. They're interesting, but they're not, you know. I've always said I'm glad I didn't take singing lessons, and I'm glad I didn't take art lessons, because it would have instilled me with some kind of false belief that I was good. But it is not. I mean, but I do like them. I mean, I'm not trying to belittle myself.
Sure.
I do like them. But that's mostly what I do now. My health has been sort of weird. I can't really walk anymore because I have neuropathy from diabetes.
Yeah.
And so I can't really walk too much anymore, but I'm trying to do something about it. And yeah, but I'm happy. I'm a little bored sometimes, but it only takes a couple of seconds of thinking about things I've done.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of shit, so I'm happy with that.
Right.
And as I said, I was never a big fan of work, but I had sort of rather stay home and be broke than get up every day and go to some drudgery. But I probably should have been a little more interested in it. But, there you go. What is that backdrop behind you? It looks like a very deep green.
Well, it's a green screen because the idea when I'm doing things on the normal setup, it looks all cool and like I'm hanging out in front of the logo, but this is what it really looks like.
No, it looks like you could be in the back room of a funeral.
Right, exactly. Hey, have you heard this show? Some episodes feel like that.
I've done quite a few shows like that. Touring, the other band would be the audience.
Right.
Once we were on tour, have you heard of the Cadillac Tramps?
Oh, yeah.
What a wonderful band.
Yeah,
we toured with
band.
them.
Yeah.
And those guys were so wonderful. But we were touring with them, and so we pulled up in, it was Athens, Georgia, I think. And we pulled up and where we made the block, and there was the club. Mm-hmm. And there was a line all the way out. And we were going, oh, my God, great. You know, I thought nobody would be here. I didn't really realize, but the Cadillac Tramps were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
To say, they were saying, oh, my God, it's really good. I hope that's so good. So me and I think Lynn got out of the van and we're going to go up there, mainly to get out of moving anything.
Yeah.
And so he walked up to the door, and we realized we saw a sign. There was a club right next door where we were playing that nobody was at.
Oh, no.
Where we saw a line of big disco. And it was the Cadillac Tramp stood in front of us while we played.
Yeah.
And then we stood in front of them while they played. And so it happens.
That's what you do.
That's right. And you know what? You get up and play.
You know,
You get up and play.
some shows, you know, a small room can feel like a stadium. Sometimes it just feels like a small room, and you got to make the best of it.
A cigar is just a cigar.
Just a cigar.
That's it.
A couple things, Gary, before I let you go.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about the well, I think it's a Psychic Powerless Another Man's Sack, your titular song that the Buttholes did.
Yes.
Were you aware that they were going to do that?
I was not aware. And they played here in the city, and they were staying that night because they had to leave rather early. So we hung out that night till really late. It was hysterical, funny, weird night. And they didn't even say anything about it. And so the next day, they got up to leave, and we all got up. I think the friend whose house it was made some little breakfast or some shit. And so one of them went out, I think Paul, to get the van, pulled it in front. They all piled in. They started to leave, and we said, okay, take care. And they said, oh, stop. They stopped and went, hey, Gary. And they handed me an album and said, we have a song about you on there. Take care.
Oh, yeah, by the way.
It literally was, and oh, yeah, by the way. And I looked at it, and I looked at the back, and the song was Gary Floyd. And I thought, what in the hell is that?
Yeah.
And we all listened to it.
Well, those guys you never quite know, too.
No, and I was able to, you know, most of the words are things taken from some of our songs.
Yeah.
But, you know, Paul Leary did an updated version of that song.
Did he really?
Last year. If you look him up and you look up the song Gary Floyd, he did another version of it.
Oh, no
an
kidding.
album he put out.
On that one that came out a couple of years, that Born Stupid record, right? I think is what's called.
Maybe. I don't know. If my name's on it, I never get past that, usually. Come on. At least I'm honest. Like Another Man's Sack, it's really great, but I could tell you a lot more about the Gary Floyd song than I could about the other songs.
Right.
Although I loved them. And, yeah, he did it's creepy, weird. It's the same words with a little different, and it has a little video where he uses those little hand fist puppets.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You should look at it.
All right.
It's I think a Gary Floyd redo. It's like it's very interesting. It's even where the other one is sort of rambunctious. This one's more like creepy, weird. And I didn't know he was going to do that either.
Right.
But one morning, I was online and somebody sent me a copy of it. And about an hour later, I got something from him. He sent me a copy and said, you know, I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And we corresponded just a little bit. And I said, well, I'm honored you do it. And he said, well, you were in Bloomfield in the first days. He and Gibby used to come down when the Dukes were doing their first shows. He also lived, I believe, in San Antonio before they moved there.
Yeah.
And you could tell, I mean, they stood out in a weird way. They were weird youngsters. And I was doing shows in big nurse outfit, biting the ends off rubbers, throwing them at people. And so they were maybe using mind-altering drugs.
Oh, yeah.
And to have a big rubber thrown at you by a big fat drag queen, but waving a hammer and sickle could have altered things, and it was influential to them.
Sure.
They told me we were very friendly. So I think that's why they remember some of that. Their early shows. As David Yow said, the Dicks gave new meaning to being afraid of the band on stage.
Fantastic.
He's another sweet guy. They're all very kind. They've all been very nice to me. And, of course, that's easy.
David, he's been on the show a couple times. I like him quite a bit. He's a really good dude.
A wonderful character with a good heart.
Yeah, great friend. I was a fan all the way back to Scratch Acid, too.
Yeah. What did they do? They put sandpaper on their album.
That's right.
But you couldn't put it next to any other record.
Right, exactly.
That's why I knew that was good. That was a good thing.
Actually, speaking of Scratch Ass, I had Brett Bradford's got a new band, and they're good, and I just had him on not that long ago.
What is the band?
Suckling is the name of the band.
Suckling.
Yeah.
I thought one of those guys was in a band that Bob Parent, bass player Dix, and Dottie, who's a big name in Austin.
Yeah.
Called Jefferson Trout.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that name. I don't know from the band, though.
Yeah, listen to some of that stuff. They're pretty hardcore punk, but they have a bit of it's sort of theatrical.
Right.
With you don't want to make fun of it. Buff might not be a youngster anymore, but he's still sort of. I'm always afraid he's going to hit me.
I'd say there's an element of danger to it. Sure, yeah.
No. I love him like a brother. He and Pat both. And his wife and I are like sister and brother. We really are good friends. So I'll often tell Buff that, please don't fucking hit me. And he'll be happy to me. No, he's a great guy, great entertainer.
Wild character.
Yeah, Jefferson Trout's a good band.
While we were invoking all these guys and David Yow, Wheelchair Epidemic, there was a great Jesus Lizard cover of that tune.
They did we got nominated in Austin. They have this big thing every year where they give everybody some little award. And I think they have big people and not so big people.
Yeah.
And I think they gave us a big plaque. I don't know what it was. I think a lifetime achievement or some kind of show. No, I didn't really pay that. It was huge. I didn't think it was going to be so big, but it was really a big thing.
Big to do, yeah.
They had some local DJ there that I didn't like. And I was trying to be smart and hustle me along. And it's like,
Oh, like in the Oscars where they play people off with the...
Yes. But it was when I was standing in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And instead of going, no, he was a prick. And nonetheless, it was but David flew in from L.A. to Austin, and he sang with us Wheelchair on Stage.
Oh, that's lovely.
No, and Exene gave us the award on stage. It was quite a star-studded event, and it was sweet. Did you ever know the woman Margaret Mosier that lived in Austin?
Mosier? No, I don't.
She was
think
a big name. She did a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff in the early punk days, and she kept doing it. She was friends with all those like ZZ Top and Blondie and all that.
Yeah.
But she always loved the punk scene. So she was beneficial in getting us on the ballot list that people voted for.
Getting in there. Sure, yeah.
It was a good thing, I love award things. There's always stuff backstage.
I have a Wheelchair Epidemic story that does involve David Yow.
Well, please. I'm sorry I got off track.
No. This is I'm here to talk to you about your stuff, and this is I think this is the only time I've ever told this story on air. But my old band, Replicator, we did some shows with one of David Yow's bands, Qui. That he was in that band for a while. Great band. And I think the second show we did with them, just for the hell of it, we decided we'd learn Wheelchair Epidemic.
Oh, good, yes.
And, you know, easy enough song to play, but like great tune. And, you know, I asked him like, hey, David, you know, you want to do Wheelchair Epidemic with us tonight? And he goes, hold on a second. Let me see if I remember the words. Yeah, I'll do it. And so, which is
Did
of course,
he remember any words?
which is funny because it's like, you know, there's not that many words to remember, man. Like, but I think he was doing a bit too. But so we're like, okay, cool. So I think we either played it as the last song or like second to last. I don't really remember. It's been a long time. And he comes out with his Budweiser in hand, which he's since does not drink Budweiser anymore because they're a horrible company, I guess.
Yes.
But he comes out, you know, we start doing like first notes of it. And what I can describe to you would be that I'll use the bass player's description. It was as if somebody said free cocaine and blowjobs at the front of the stage because everyone that was outside rushed in immediately. Yeah, you're the first notes of it. And it was great. And it was he was awesome. It was something I was like, look, we'll learn it. He'll probably say no, whatever. Like I'll sing it. It'll be a fun thing to do. And it was a total blast. He was a total sport about it. There's some great pictures of it. And
you know what that guy did? I had a knee operation here, like 10 or 11 years ago, and the day I came home from the hospital, we got an eviction notice, and it was overwhelming weird. It was from the second house before we moved here.
Yeah.
And the guy sold it or some shit. And so it was a really hard time. And my partner had to do all of the footwork.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't walk for like 3 weeks or something. And so somebody in Austin, I think they told, what is the lead guy's name in Hickwoods? I feel bad, I can't remember his name, but he's very well known in Austin.
Right.
And so they put together like a benefit.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And they sent me the money for it. And it was a way it helped us move. It was wonderful. And, but what they did, the Dicks headlined the show and they flew David out to sing. So David Yow was singing for the Dicks this night.
You know what? Didn't they call it like the dildos or something? If I remember correctly.
I think they did call it something different.
Which is great.
Yeah,
that's real funny.
I think they did something like that.
Yeah. That was like about what, 10 years ago or something, right?
About 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember Bub said it was saying that because he didn't know hardly any other words. And he was just singing his heart out.
Yeah.
No, I thought that was he was incredibly sweet to do that, you know, and so you know, he's always been a close friend of the Dicks, very close friend of all of ours, and he's a good guy. I'm glad he's had a lot of success. He's worked hard to do his acting and shit. He's worked hard.
He's in the new Toxic Avenger, I guess, which is I think about to come out. Which is
no, he's done. But you know what? All of that stuff he totally deserves.
Yeah, Under the Silver Lake, he's good. He's a good actor.
Yeah, you don't just do that badly and be successful. He's earned all that, and I'm so happy for him because he's a good guy. Yeah, I've got nothing to say but good stuff.
He really is, and that is one where I actually knew that was a Dicks cover at that point because rather than Mudhoney one where I was like, what's the song? Like I don't know this band. So I want to talk a little bit, but before I let you go, we sort of went back and forth on a little bit with Sister. I mean, the Dick stuff, it was kind of like getting a little more, I mean, again, not like John Lee Hooker, but a little more bluesy rather than punky.
That's right.
And, but that band was around for a minute. That was like about a 10-year stretch, right? It was
Which one?
Sister Double Happiness.
Yeah. It was, I think we started about 86 or 87.
So the core was kind of like you and Lynn, and then Ben from
Lynn and Ben Cohen.
Ben from Papa Pies.
Yeah, oddly enough, yes. And we,
they had that great make those donuts with extra grease. This for the chief of police.
They had a lot of songs. I never listened to them, but I thought Ben was a great guitar player. They also had that Grateful Dead song that they'd play for like
Truckin'. Yeah.
They played that for even like the whole set.
That's right. I forgot about that.
That lead, it was like, ouch. No, I thought they were great. No, we practiced for about 8 months and wrote most of that first album before Mikey from the Offenders, who was the original bass player, moved here to San Francisco. And, you know, as soon as I saw him after he moved here, I said, look, we need a bass player. What's happening? He went, I'll do it. Yeah. And he was just in the band.
Nice. Yeah.
And really, really helped develop the sound that band had. He was so great. Would never have replaced him, but he had other things going on that made it really hard to tour. And I was real serious about, I wanted that band to move.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he could, and he probably couldn't have, for problems outside of his music thing. And so we got Joe Palmer, who, he was good. And then we got Miles, who was a revolving door of bass players.
Right. But I mean, that band was pretty busy. I mean, Heart and Mind, like you were opening for some pretty big bands in that time.
Yeah, with Soundgarden, we were on tour with them for a couple of weeks in Nirvana during when Nevermind came out.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. And we were on some big award show here where we played big show cameras. Was
it the BAM Awards?
The BAM Awards, yeah.
That I used to work at the Tower Records in Berkeley.
Oh, then you certainly must have seen BAM magazine.
Oh, yes. Yes, BAM magazine, man.
How long did you work at? It's so odd what a big deal that was, and it doesn't exist anymore.
It's just gone. Yeah, Tom Hanks's kid made that documentary about it, and I feel like if he hadn't made that documentary, no one would even remember unless you like worked there.
And it was the big place. If you couldn't find it, you'd go to. It was so odd.
And then it's just vanished as if it never happened at all.
No, it's the nature of life. And, I mean, you know, you could be really famous, but from the ground, the worms are waiting.
Yep. Yeah, that's
and
true.
They win.
But BAM Magazine's how I first found out about Sister Double Happiness, actually, if I remember correctly. Just like inadvertently.
We were the cover people.
Yeah.
One week. That was a big deal back then.
It was a huge deal. It's again
when
for the
next week came, you weren't there anymore.
Right. Then
but that 1 week, it was a big deal.
We got these new guys called Smash Mouth now. That's unfortunately found out about that band at the same time.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. No, it was I was very happy during that time because as much as I didn't like to work in factories and the gas station and doing all that kind of shit, I loved working, getting up early, touring, doing things for the band, playing and doing. So that was a good time. I was very happy with because I felt like what I was doing was worth it.
Yeah, of course.
Playing, that's what you want to do. You want to play. And then I was able to travel and meet. Yeah, sister was very busy. We were very, and that was good. I was very happy about it.
Didn't you? There was like between the self-titled Sister record and Heart and Mind. There was like a bit of a break there, didn't you? Were you?
I left.
Yeah, you like went to like a
year.
monastery or something. Is that right?
Yes.
How was that? That's not something you hear often on this show or any show, I guess.
Well, afterwards, after the album came out, we weren't really touring so much then. We did go to Austin for one of the really early, like second, third or something, South by Southwest. And
oh, sure. Yeah.
the cops were mean back then and people were afraid they were going to get beat up, but it was all over the city, but not right now. And we went there and played, and after we came back is when Mikey left the band.
Right.
And we were going to, we didn't really know exactly what to do. And by this time, I had become very interested in the Eastern Hindu and Buddhist philosophies. And I thought rather than, because we had every intention of carrying on, and but I decided I would maybe leave. And so I did. And Lynn and Ben were very upset with me. But it was just, I had to do that. So I spent a year, it was around here. I never actually moved into the monastery, but several days, 3 or 4 days a week, I was in Olima. There's a retreat out there, but I would go there and live the life. And so almost every day in the week I was there.
Yeah.
And I gave it, so big, long story short, I'm still a believer in part of that whole philosophy. But I had to sit down and really think, okay, here's the point that I really have to figure this out. And I thought, well, I'm probably not going to be a monk. I'm still very worldly,
right?
And I don't want to join the monastery. And as they say, a sad monk is a bad monk. I don't want to.
Is that a
to
saying?
be sitting around the monk table, thinking, "Oh, I could be doing a show. I could be doing.
I could be on tour with Nirvana, but I'm hanging out doing this monk stuff."
I'm going to tour with Nirvana one of these days, and so I need to get the hell out of here. No, I love the place. I love the whole experience. It was wonderful.
Sure.
So I called Lynn from there.
Yeah.
I said, we were still very good friends, but they were sort of pissed off. And I said, I'm here in Olima. I'm wondering, can you come and get me? And let's talk.
Right.
And she went, this better be good. And I went, maybe. So again, Marcia, I decided I wanted to be back in the band, but I wanted to dedicate myself full time to that. Yeah. If I was going to leave a situation that I thought was really good. And my teacher at the time, Guru, another word, I went and told, I've decided that I'm going to not be a monk. Right. And I'm going to go and I'm going to get back into music again.
Sure.
And in his wisdom, old man Indian way, he went, at last you decided what is correct for your life. And I thought, well, fuck that. Why don't you tell me this? No, he was very sweet and nobody gave a shit. So it was like, we got the band back together immediately.
Yeah.
And within like 6 to 8 months, we had been signed to Warner's.
Right.
And
such was the style of the time, right? I mean, it was like a feeding frenzy for
yes,
for a
and
bit.
I always had to admit during that time, other problems that had been sort of other people's situations had resolved. Yeah. So we all came with a bit more of a clean slate to, and we just sort of picked up where we left off, and it was a good experience. But yeah. That's my muck story for.
That's pretty good.
But I'm still sort of a Hindu freak out with edges of Buddhism.
Yeah.
Otherwise, can you imagine how nuts that'd be?
That's definitely like one of the like a big kind of like a whiplash elements of.
It's a little bit of a whiplash in
Yeah.
the middle of the whole trip. But yeah, it was very interesting. I learned a lot.
How did you? So Horsey Water, Sub Pop did that one, right? That was the last one.
Sub Pop Europe.
Sub Pop Europe. Okay,
It
so
was never really released here.
yeah, because I remember being surprised. That was like there's another Sister Double Happiness record. Like what? Like
We
I
have another one, a live album that was recorded, an acoustic live album from the Great American Music Hall.
oh wow, okay, I don't know that one. Huh?
Yeah, it was on Heyday Records, or it was on. I've never been one for those kind of details. It came
that's
out,
fine.
so what the hell?
People got the internet; they can
Uh,
figure it out. It's fine.
If it was a kid, I would have forgotten its name,
Right.
which is good. I didn't have kids, but yeah, it's a great album. It was a sold out show. It was at the sort of when we were really popular in town, and yeah, it was great. Danny had joined, so it was Danny, Ben, Lynn, and Jeff.
Yeah.
No, Miles. I remember everything. No,
Just
no,
not in the
it
right
was a
order
great-
necessarily, but that's fine.
yeah, and those are our albums. And Horsey Water was, the last one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't even released here. But by that point, we figured the end was probably in sight for us. So just have fun.
Yeah.
And Lynn and I, who pushed a lot of the business, but and just said, it's not worth beating your head against the concrete. We did that before, and here we are, the same as we. So just have fun and do it. So we had a great time recording the album.
Yeah.
Which I can't say for the other albums. And,
Right.
well, that first one, I was drunk the whole time. So, but we're actually remastering and re-releasing the first album.
Oh, really? Okay.
We're
Interesting.
gonna do, yeah, probably pretty soon. It could pop up. More of that later, but yeah, sort of giving it a little polish.
You're talking about the one on SST, the one
It was on SST, yeah.
this is the self-titled one. Yeah, I found that one after Harden. I mean, at the time it was sort of like, again, it's contextually it's really hard to describe for the younger listeners, but like you just couldn't necessarily find indie stuff the way that you could now. That's the best way to put it. You had to like kind of know someone or like have like a cool record store that someone would
When
tell
we
you.
got signed to Warner's, one of the big people that signed us, it was almost a separate thing within the company, was the alternative music.
Yeah.
That totally doesn't exist anymore. There's no, and it
Not at all.
probably 25 years, 20 years, maybe it hadn't existed.
Yeah.
And yeah, they had, I mean, those people had big jobs. That was their thing. REM, the first album I had on Reprise or whatever it was on, it was on that department.
Yeah.
And,
It was
then it defined itself out of existence.
yeah. It was a big deal though for a very long time.
It
Yeah.
was a really big deal. They were selling millions of bucks in records, so of course they made it a big deal.
Yeah.
And otherwise, they probably didn't even give a shit.
Yeah, it's just product,
Maybe they did.
right? Yeah.
That's bitterness. Let me meditate it out of my life. No, that was quite an experience. The whole Warner Brothers thing. It was big. It's very odd.
Yeah. Did anybody have any idea that you were the guy that hate the police?
I would say probably 75% had never heard of any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
They were just out of college and all shiny people.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, coming from good families.
Yeah, they were. They had stepped from probably nerdy to very cool.
Yeah.
And they all sort of made sure each other knew that. And they treated us nice for the most part because they were paid to. And you had to be real careful because if you didn't do things the way you wanted, there were 10 people waiting to do it for you. And
yeah,
it was an experience. But I've had weird experiences with independent record labels too. So I'm not just criticizing it because it's a huge corporate shithole, but you know, independent record labels can be fucked up too. It's just you have to watch out for what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's
no matter who the babysitter is, you need to get some references.
Yeah,
and but it's all made today what today is.
You have to watch out in a different way. Basically.
you really got to watch things. But a lot of it was very nice, you know, perks, a lot of perks. The distribution is good, you know. So we'll see how tomorrow comes.
So Sister Double Happiness kind of wraps it up. I think Lynn throws in with Roddy and they start up Imperial Teen. And
yeah, they were old friends and we all knew Roddy. Sister played with Faith No More once.
Sure.
A horrible club. Did you ever go to the Sound of Music?
No, what's that?
Oh, it was in the Tenderloin. It was
I don't even know it.
it was pretty the Dicks played there 100 years ago. And then we played there with Faith No More and Sister. It was a real place. But he was around, and then you have Faith. I started doing the solo things.
Right.
And she felt comfortable at that point to go start doing her own thing. And we were like moving apart as a band.
Yeah.
Lynn and I talked 2 times a week at least. And, you know, we remained friends. She and I are like great friends. And, you know, it's a good life.
Yeah, and so then so that's you end up doing the Black Kali Ma stuff, and that's as we mentioned, Alternative Tentacles didn't quite know what to do with it, right? But
I don't think so. But I love the record. I think it's a really good record.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's and it was. I was surprised that I got to see you play a couple times in that band, and it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal. And I'm like, this is a pretty big deal. Like, why isn't more people into this? What's happening?
I love the band. When did you see us? I don't remember.
Oh my God. I think
it's been a while.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think I saw. Was it the Eagle one time?
We did play the Eagle.
I love the Eagle. I mean, I
love the Eagle. I love to play there.
I'm hetero AF, but I always love the attitude of the Eagle of like we'll let any cool thing happen as long as it's like real, you know.
And that's true. That's why the first reunion show the Dicks did was here at the
That's right.
Eagle.
That's
and
right.
It went over really good. And so then we said, well, if we tell the people in Austin that we did a reunion show and it went really good, it was really fun, and we don't play there,
They're gonna lose a lot of friends.
That probably will be a tar and feathering.
Right, exactly.
And,
yeah.
So then we started. I mean, we did them there. It was really fun. I did a little mini tour up around New York, and, Boston, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It was great fun. And this is, the reunion.
Yeah.
So
people are in a different place in life.
I guess so. It was a different place than when we had first been in that area.
Yeah.
Well,
and also there's people that never got a chance to see the band, I mean.
Well, no, that's all, and I thought that was pretty, Glenn died, so we got different people to play guitar, but they all were people that knew Glenn or were fans of his, so they really tried to do the best. And probably we did the last show. Sometimes I wish we could do another one, because things are so messed up in the world.
Yeah.
And nothing's really changed since the first days that we played.
Right.
And, but then I don't want to. Sometimes I sort of want to, another time. I mean, as I've often said, we said that was absolutely our last show, but then again, we are the dicks. So, I mean, like, oh yeah, that's what we said. So
yeah, so what?
Have you ever heard the word lied?
I saw, speaking of Steel Pole Bathtub, I actually just saw him play in Houston.
They're playing so cool,
which is great, and it's a long, complicated reason why I was there, but it was a celebration of emos, the Houston emos.
Emos, yes.
And it wasn't just them. They had a lot of bands that were around that were back in the day that hadn't, some of them hadn't played in like years, and it was all really cool. Even though like I didn't have frame of reference for some of them because I grew up in California. I didn't grow up in Texas,
of course.
But a couple of them, I was like, wow, this band's great, and I was like, and they're like, oh yeah, they don't have anything on the internet at all, and I was like, okay, that's crazy, but like it's
wow.
But it was a great experience because I feel like now it's real rare to run into a band and just be like, wow, I don't know anything about this. What is this all about? Oh, it turns out one of the fellas in that band I was talking about is a newscaster. He's on the news. The guitar player is like on the news as like
a newscaster,
which is crazy.
That kind of shit. That kind of stuff.
Which why not? I guess people come from punk rock. They're still allowed to do that, right? But it's so funny.
They used to play in Houston a lot.
What were they freaking called?
The island mostly, but long gone. But that was did you ever hear of Really Red?
Really Red is great. Yeah, didn't Jello just do their
big fan of that band.
Jello put out their released their record, did like a discography or something like sometime back, right? Didn't he?
Maybe he did. I don't know.
Because I remember
I barely tell you the dick stuff. I was a big fan of Really Red, though. I love those guys. Yeah,
they were awesome. But by the way, the Toho Iho was the name of that band that I was thinking of. That's got the guy.
That's on the news. That's amazing.
That's this fellow Ruben's on the news, and great guitar player. And I thought they were killer. And like I was like, I can't wait to listen to him. And the guy I was talking to was like, good luck. There's nothing on the internet.
That is so amazing.
It's like that's great.
Yeah, it's amazing when you hear those things are not they're not around anymore.
Because you make the assumption that now that everything is, you can just like, all right, let's just see what's up over here, and it's on YouTube or something. But
you know what's happening? My thing's running down power.
You know what? That's fine because it's about time for us to wrap it up anyway.
Yeah, I know. Me too. And plus, I'll turn into a big boring old man.
Well, Gary, I really appreciate you taking the time, spending so much time with me.
I appreciate the time you took. It was a great show. Good to meet you again.
Yeah. Likewise. And I only have one canned question I ever ask people, and I usually do it at the last bit of the show, so you can choose to interpret it however you like.
Okay, go ahead. I'll answer it.
Why do you do what you do?
I have to. I just have to. It's not the easiest thing. Like all that time, I think back, my father could have got me a job at the railroad where he was somebody, and I could have retired with a lot of money and been on stuff. I would have hung myself in a back room someplace. And I have to. But it's no burden. It's a great life. Just have to do it. That's great.
Gary Floyd, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate your time, brother.
I thank you so much. I'd love to see you again and stay well.
Don't be a stranger. I'll let you know next time I'm in SF.
Oh, please do. That'd be great. I appreciate it.
Take care, man.
Okay. Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye. Oh, there he goes. Mr. Gary Floyd. Oh, man, it's dark AF in here, isn't it? What an awesome dude. You know what I'm going to play. Come on, what do you think I'm going to play? Here's Dix, Hate the Police.
Mommy, look at your son. You might have loved me, but now I got a gun. You better stay out of the way. I think I've had a bad day. Had a bad day. I've had a bad day. Daddy, proud of his son. He got him a good job. Kill niggers and Mexicans. I tell you something, and it's true. You can't find justice, it'll find you. Yeah, it'll find you. Yeah, it'll find you. People tell policemen they met their match. They planted on desert sand. The dicks were hatched. It hate policemen, and it's true. You can't find justice, it'll find you. Yeah, it'll find you. Yeah, it'll find you. Mommy, look at your son. Maybe you once loved me, but now I've got a gun. You better stay out of my way. Hey, I've had a bad day. I've had a bad day. Mommy, I've had a bad day. Oh, I've had a bad day. Mommy, I've had a bad day.
There you go. Holy moly, that was Mr. Gary Floyd. Dix, Sister Double Happiness, Black Kali Ma, Gary Floyd Band. What a cool guy. That was great. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had a few minor technical difficulties, but we got through it. And really appreciate him being so generous with his time there. Kind of a huge thing at the end there of maybe there could be some Dix stuff in the future. Makes you wonder. All right, so name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you ever so very much for listening to it. This show airs usually Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Streaming YouTube and Twitch. Podcasted later, always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. ProtonicReversal.com. But if you like the show and want to get episodes sooner, $1 a month, patreon.com/Protonic Reversal gladly achieves that goal. And it helps keep the lights on, to be perfectly blunt. So, always appreciate it. Also, thanks everyone liking, subscribing to your platform of choice. Whatever that might be. Sharing the episodes around. Posting about them, even leaving a review, as corny as that sounds, that helps people discover the show, and it's just a darn nice thing to do, really.
50,000 watts of power.
Lots of great stuff coming up. We got Nina Stasia on Thursday, and Marnie Stern. Oh, and Simon Bonney of Crime and City Solution. What a packed month this is.
This microphone
Good Lord.
turns sound into electricity.
And as always, thanks for listening. Really appreciate all of you. And stay safe out
Hear
there.
me now? Out on
Check you
Route
later.
128, dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 any collar at all. Welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This is a test! If this had been a real emergency, hey, hey!